Hey there, Rob here, and in this video, we are going to talk about diagnosing Google penalties. Now, if you're familiar with Google penalties, you'll know that they primarily come in two different forms. If we're talking about an algorithmic penalty, we're going to be talking about Panda, and we're going to be talking about Penguin. Now, they're kind of funny names, but those are basically just two names for primary updates to the Google algorithm or Google filters that have come out over the last few years. There are, of course, other kinds of penalties. There are manual action penalties and things like that, but most people will not be dealing with that. And if they are dealing with a manual penalty, you'll normally know because there'll normally be a notification in your Google Search Console, or formerly Google Webmaster Tools. So we're going to talk primarily about diagnosing algorithmic penalties, and we're going to be talking about Panda and Penguin primarily. There are a few other little updates. Now, let's jump right in. There's going to be a few tools we are going to use. So, the first tool we are going to be using here is Spyfu. Spyfu is just basically an online, it's basically an internet analytics tool, and it basically allows you to spy on competitors and see what keywords they're ranking for, what keywords they're bidding on with Google PPC traffic and all of that. But we're primarily going to use it to look at the history, the ranking history for some domains here. You can also use a tool called SEMrush. They do very similar things. There's slight differences, of course, and you can do most of what I'm going to show you here with a free account at either SEMrush or Spyfu. I'm not affiliated with either of these sites in any way. We just happen to use Spyfu internally, so I'm going to use that for this example today. And we're also going to use a free resource, which is basically just the Google algorithm change history from Moz.com. It's basically just a really nice comprehensive list of all the major Google updates that have happened over the years. You can see it actually goes all the way back to the year 2000 here. And this is just going to show the big updates. There's obviously hundreds and hundreds of updates every single year to Google's algorithm, so it's not going to have every update, but it's going to have the major ones, and it's really going to be able to show us what we need to know from diagnosing a penalty standpoint. Now, I've selected a few different websites here. I've actually selected 5 different websites. I did this by just going in and looking at how certain sites have been ranking over the last few years, looking at some major cities for a major local, for a major competitive local niche or vertical, and that is plastic surgery. So I basically looked at plastic surgeons in New York, Miami, Los Angeles, and Chicago. Now, I have no affiliation with any of these websites, and if one of these is your website, or you work with one of these companies, you feel free to reach out to me, and hopefully it was all right that I use this as an example, but I needed to pick something as an example. So, like I said, I have no affiliation with these, but with the tools or with the clients here, or with the sites here, but I wanted to pick them so we had a nice little some examples to look at. So let's jump right in. And the first thing we want to do within the Spyfu dashboard here is we're just going to paste in the domain name. Now, this, of course, could be your domain. It could be a potential client's domain. It could be one of your client's domains. It could be a competitor's domain. You can put in any domain here, and you can do this research. So, first thing we do, we put the domain name in, and then we actually go to SEO research and go to SEO overview. And on this page, we're going to see the history here of the domain's ranking. Now, this only goes back to July 2015, but you can see down here we actually have 8 years of history, so there's a lot more to see. So let's click on all right here. Let's click on all, and now we can actually see the ranking history over the last 8 years, but it goes back basically on this little chart here, goes back to 2011, which is all we really need to know, because pretty much all of the Google penalties we could be looking at here really don't go back any further than basically the beginning of 2012 anyways. So let's go back here, and we can see that back in 2011, this site here was ranking for about 108 organic keywords, and that's just 108 keywords that Spyfu actually tracks. Spyfu only tracks, I think, around 40 or 50 million keywords, so obviously that's not going to get every single keyword, not every single keyword a site ranks for, but it's going to give a really good overview, especially for trying to look at and diagnose a potential penalty. So we can see 108, and then we can see it goes along here, and then this site site starts to grow, right? So they start to rank for more things. They start going up to ranking for 451, 472 organic keywords, right? And then you can see that they had a little drop and then kind of up again. So they've just been, this is all pretty normal. We expect to see these kinds of jumps around on all websites, okay? So that's nothing to be too alarmed with. But then we can see that basically December 2012 and then January 2013, February 2013, March, you see it just starts dropping, right? So it looks like we kind of hit that, it looks like this site kind of hit that peak in December of 2012. So let's go and see what happened basically in that time period. So come over here and let's go back to December 2012. So 2012, December 21st. We can see that there was a Panda update. It's Panda 23. You could click on this to actually read a little bit more about the update. In this case, we're really going to look at, in this video, diagnosing Google penalties, not every single step on how we would actually go ahead and have that penalty removed, or how we actually go in and do that, because it would be it's outside the scope of what we're looking at today. But we're going to go in and figure out if a site likely has a penalty, and then we can also probably get a good guess of whether it's going to be a Panda or Penguin penalty, and that will allow you to know that there's going to be some different steps that are going to need to be taken. So the first thing we're really worried about is, does this site have a penalty, and if so, what kind of penalty we think it is. So we've got Panda 23 happened here. Now, one sort of key thing that happens with Panda penalties is normally once a Panda penalty happens, it's a gradual decline, okay, in rankings. It's not normally just a plummet, right? So it's not normally where it's like ranking, next month 0, right? It's more likely going to be it happens and then you get a trickle of basically losing rankings. So you can see here that it all just kept going down. Then it looks like something else might have happened in May. But let's go see what happened with these other changes in here. So what happened at the beginning of 2013? Looks like we had Panda 24 on January 22nd. We had Panda 25 March 14th. Phantom's nothing huge. This isn't a major update. Then we had Penguin in May. Okay, Penguin 2.0 in May. So let's go and see what happens. So we had so we're seeing here they're ranked there. We had Panda updated here, right? And then dropped. We had another Panda update in here, so that could likely be affecting it there too. Then they kind of treaded water for a second, and then suddenly in May, another big drop, right? And that was, of course, when Penguin 2.0 came out. And then you can see it just drops and keeps dropping and really gets down to almost zero, right? Then it looks like they had a little bit of a recovery in May 1st, 2014. Let's see what happened here. May 2014, what happened? We had, in May 2014, we actually had Panda 4.0, and we had the payday loans update. What else? Anything else? It looks like it was Panda 4. Now, Panda 4 came out then, so it could actually be that they had some improvements here because of having some of their Panda penalty taken, basically lifted based on some changes that had happened to the site in this area. But we've got a little jump up here, then it kind of trickled along, then a big jump up, it looks like, in March, April of 2015. Let's see what's happening there. So March, April of 2015, let's see. March, April. April was the mobile update. So there's a big jump in when the mobile update happened, which could be that some of the other sites, if they are mobile friendly here, which I don't know, I've never even been to the website, but if they're mobile friendly and maybe some of their competitors are not, that could have seen a big jump. But then we're coming along here and we've got April and then May 2015, huge drop it looks like here. So what happened May 2015? Quality update. Let's see. Whoops. Let's go back over here. March, April, May. Interesting. So then May, it looks like there's another big drop, and that's really around that a quality up. Now quality quality really is part of the Panda algorithm in most cases, but it looks like some quality signals here in May were looked at, and that's usually going to be something, you're going to get a little bit of stuff to do with Phantom, but really Panda is usually, whenever we're talking quality, we're normally talking Panda. So it looks to me, because there's another big drop, it looks to me almost all the changes with this site have happened with a Panda update, right? There was something with Penguin here, so there might be some spam issues. So basically, if you think about it as an easy way to think about it, Panda is about quality. So we're talking about quality of the content. We're talking about, no spun content on a page. We're talking about, we're talking about time on site, we're talking about bounce rates, we're talking about user metrics, we're talking about even some social sharing, things like that. Basically, we're talking about anything that would make a site quality, right? So not a huge number of ads above the fold. There's lots and lots of things. You can obviously just Google, do a Google search for Google Panda, and you'll get a little bit of an idea of what it is. And we'll obviously go into it in future trainings. But and then for Penguin's really a spam filter, okay? So it's all about removing or penalizing sites that are committing web spam. So we're talking about, automated spammy backlinks. We're talking about, large-scale link networks. We're talking about, even when you get into these, you're also thinking about, keyword stuffing, over-optimization of anchor text, all that sort of stuff. But like I said, we'll go into that deeper. But for this one here, it's looking like we might have some problems here. We have some problems here with Panda. It looks like there's a little bit of problem potentially with the Penguin update there. So there might have been some web spam, might have been some automated backlinking done by a previous SEO company or something on this site, or something like that. But it looks like Panda could be a big culprit there, because we're seeing a drop here with Panda, and then we're seeing a little jump up with Panda 4, but then it looks like it jumped down again with Panda 4.2. So that's kind of what we're seeing here. Obviously, the next step would be to go in and actually look at their backlink profile, go in and look at Google Search Console, etc. There's lots more steps to be done, but this gives you an idea, and I do really think that there is a potential penalty issue with this site. So let's jump on to the next one here. So let's grab this, and we'll just throw in the next domain that I've tracked down here. And let's go in and look at all again. And so this one here is interesting. It's pretty dramatic, the change that you see here, right? Because you can see going back in 2011, everything's going around 150 or so keywords, goes up and up and up, March, April, May of 2012, right? June, and then it just trickles down a little bit. This isn't a huge change, right? This is a little change, but not a huge change. Then it's coming along in December 2012, right? December 2012, and then we see again, January is a drop, March is a drop. This is very, very similar, right, to the past one, because we had then, actually, very similar, because we're seeing the same sort of little chunk up here. So basically it drops down, then goes along about the same, and then starts dropping down to almost nothing. This one tells me, again, this is a Panda issue, right? Because we know that going back into December, January, right, of 2012, 2013 is Panda 23, Panda 24, and then it just keeps going down from there. Obviously, Penguin does come in May, but by May, we're looking at here, May, there's a chunk down from there, but not a huge plummet. It just goes here and just keeps going down and down and down and down, and that tells me we're looking at a Panda penalty there. Let's look at another one here. And for this one here, let's look at all once again. So this one, again, is a really, really, really dramatic curve, right? Because you can see this website got started basically in 2012, and it climbed and climbed and climbed, right? Very, very quickly climbed the rankings, right? Until it looked like September and then October of 2012. So what happened in October of 2012? Because it went from huge rankings in September of 2012 to completely gone pretty much in October of 2012. So let's go and see what happened end of September, beginning of October. Probably end of September, actually, of 2012. So we come down here and let's look for September. So let's go back to the beginning of September. So August, that's too early. We had September 18th was a Panda update, right? Panda 19. Then 27th of September was the exact match domain update. And then we had Panda 20. So what I'm looking at here, let's go and look. See, that was a plummet, right? This was not a gradual decrease, so it probably wasn't Panda. Panda's normally a gradual decrease. This was a huge drop from basically 125 organic keywords to 1, probably the brand name, right? 1. So when we look at that, that tells me it's probably the exact match domain update. Let's go and look at their domain. So their domain is chicagobreastaugmentation.com. So it's literally the keywords, right? It's Chicago breast augmentation. Those are the keywords that they're looking to rank for, obviously, right? And that was a huge ranking factor prior to the EMD update. It still does play some role, but the one interesting thing is that when you have your keywords in your domain like that, it does make it so it's easier to accidentally cause a over-optimization penalty, whether we're talking about over-optimization on your site with too many of the keywords on your site, whether we're talking about over-optimization of anchor text, anything like that for your links. Having an exact match domain like this can get you into trouble sometimes with that. It can help you if you really know how to be careful with your link building and how you optimize your pages. But many sites, especially prior to this EMD update in September of 2012, a lot of sites use this exact match domain format, and it was a huge help. But this tells me chances are the site was very over-optimized for Chicago breast augmentation. They probably had a lot of backlinks. I haven't looked at the backlinks at all, but they probably had a lot of backlinks for Chicago breast augmentation with that with those keywords in it, and tells me that they got an over-optimization penalty, or they just didn't have a lot of power but were ranking because of their domain, and when that power got taken away in the EMD update, they just dropped. So this may be an over-optimization penalty, or it may just be that a site that had power, right, or didn't have a lot of power, didn't have a lot of links, did not have a lot of authority, but was ranking based on its domain, just lost its rankings at the EMD. I'd have to go much deeper into their backlinks to see which that is, but we're definitely looking at an EMD update issue with this site, right? So let's take a look at another one here. And this one here, let's again go to all. And this one here, we're seeing again another huge plummet. So when we see a plummet, right, that big, going from lots of rankings to literally no rankings overnight, we know that's probably not Panda. We know it's probably Penguin or something, very specific like the EMD update. So let's look at what's going on here. So the site's going up and up in rankings, right, in 2011, up until March, April of 2012, and then boom, only 4 rankings in May of 2012. So let's go over here. Let's look at, let's go back and look at the beginning of 2012. So, beginning of 2012, it's going on. We got, a Panda update, February, March, April. Nothing too important. Park domain bug, no problem. Panda 3.5 in April. Not probably a huge issue. We know it drops. April 24th, 2012, Penguin, the initial Penguin update. So this was really about over optimization, like we talked about. That was one of the biggest pieces of this, and also web spam. Okay, so let's go and look. This was May 1st. We're looking at 4 keywords, and April 1st with 126 keywords. This tells me almost guaranteed this was Penguin. Now, there are definitely some ways to fix Penguin penalties depending on whether it's link-based, a link-based penalty, or whether it's a web spam on the site type of situation. Again, we'd have to go in and look at everything in a lot more detail, but there are ways to definitely fix that type of penalty. Same as a Panda, both of them in most cases can be fixed. Once in a while, the problem is too bad to fix, but really that's very rare. So this one tells me this is a Penguin penalty for sure. Now let's look at one last one here before we finish up, and this one here, let's see what we've got for, let's go to all, and this one doesn't look as dramatic, right? This isn't a ranking really high, drop in 1 month, right? There was a big drop here, but it is pretty gradual, right? So and we have this little, jump up again here, right? In these sort of times. This looks sort of like the first one we looked at. So this kind of tells me we might be looking at a Panda issue again, right? So let's go and look at here. So we had, 500, man. They had 500 rankings here, jumped up to over 1,000 rankings in December of 2011, January 2012, all the way along, and then April, a huge drop in April and May of 2012. Now, April and May of 2012, that was Penguin. So potentially it could be Penguin that had some problems there, right? And then it looks like they moved back up here until September of 2012. What happened in September of 2012? This sounds sort of EMD update. Let's find out here. What that was 27th, right? September 27th was the exact match domain. What's their domain? The domain is Rodeo Drive Plastic Surgery. Chances are that is what they were trying to rank for, right? So you can see here, looks like potentially there was probably some over-optimization would be my guess for Rodeo Drive Plastic Surgery and got hit by Penguin in this case, which would have dropped them here. Then they kind of creep back up, and then it looks like EMD hit, and that trickled them down further. And then it looks like again in May of 2013, another hit. Let's go and look here. May of 2013, that was Penguin 2.0. So Penguin 2.0 basically took Penguin and got even tighter, so it got even more aggressive. So you can see once again another hit when Penguin happened and literally trickled down to nothing. So what's interesting is even though this little graph looked very similar to the first one that I think is probably Panda, this one actually is likely Penguin and EMD together. But I would definitely say this one is dealing with a bit of a penalty. It looks like they're creeping back up, so that penalty may have been lifted, but I do think there's probably still something affecting the site because we're not seeing the site jump up to its old rankings, right? I haven't looked any deeper into this, but potentially this site is seeing some rankings going up, but not for the keywords that they were really over-optimized for and they have their EMD for. So I've seen this a lot where the site may be ranking for some of their smaller keywords they weren't as optimized for, but maybe they're not ranking for things like plastic surgery, Rodeo Drive plastic surgery. Those ones still could be very depressed from that penalty. Now, I haven't gone deeper, but that's just a little speculation of what we might see when we dive in there. So I think that covers everything for today, and thanks so much for watching and learning a little bit more about how to diagnose if your site, your client site, your potential client site has a penalty, and if they do, what that penalty likely is. Also, below the video, I'll make sure there are links to the resources that we use in this, so Spyfu, SEMrush, and of course the Google Update history. Thanks again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.